bridge in Seaport. Even from the seats in the upper decks, you could see the seashore. Tailgate function with the carne asada. Just walk from the tribal building for the Padres, I'm on it. Yeah, cause for the 619, we'll knock you down. Anything for the Brown, put it on the town. Started back rocking the Brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padre gang.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 296 of Talking Friars. I am live from the Winter Meetings here in San Diego. I've been here since like 7:45 in the morning, so hopefully you enjoy this episode that I'm bringing to you today. A lot to talk about. Trea Turner going to the Philadelphia Phillies, 11 years, $300 million. I was fine with the Padres not giving Trea Turner $300 million over 11 years. I wanted Trea Turner. There were reports about the Padres meeting with him twice. I do believe that they were interested in him. A.J. Preller said that today when he was talking to the media. But giving this guy an 11-year deal, and the projections were saying that he was going to get like 280 maybe. But to give him 300 and he's going to be under contract when he's 40 years old, I was fine with not giving Trea Turner that. I don't know what the Padres' breaking point was, how much money they were willing to give him, if there was a specific amount of years where A.J. Preller and the Padres were like, all right, we can't do this anymore. I don't know if that was the case, but I think they probably wanted 7 to 8 years. At least that's what the predictions were saying. And so they weren't going to give him 11 years, especially when it's not like it was this huge need of the Padres, because they already have Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop. They already have Fernando Tatis Jr. who can play shortstop. And they can make other moves to help the offense, help the lineup as a whole in 1-year deals, 2-year deals, instead of locking this guy down for 11 years and giving him $300 million. Trea Turner, he's a great player. He's one of the best players in baseball. He's one of the best shortstops in baseball. But 11 years that's a lot. Props to the Phillies, I guess, props to Trea Turner for getting that deal. And congrats to the Phillies for getting Trea Turner. But this might turn into an Albert Pujols-like type of deal at the end of it, where they're really regretting the end of the contract. Maybe they go win a World Series next year, and that validates the contract already in the first year. But at the end, I'm not saying Trea Turner is going to stink at the end, but he's not going to have the same speed that he did at the beginning of this contract. I would think that he's not going to have the same power as he did, or as he will have in these first few years. And playing in Philly, that will benefit him. But let's say he was a Padre. Those power numbers, would he have like 27 home runs this year? It was not going to be that good playing at Petco Park for 11 years, right? And now this allows the Padres to pivot to a guy like Xander Bogaerts, who will cost less than Trea Turner. He's not going to cost $300 million, I wouldn't think. They won't have to give him 11 years. They would probably give him 7, 8 years. And you could use that Trea Turner money. You take the Bogaerts, pay him, and you use the rest of the Turner money that's left over to pay starting pitching. Like, you could really help your team here, make your team more of a complete roster, which is what they need. Like, this is not an offseason where they should only be looking at offense. You got to be looking at the pitching staff as well. So maybe this Trea Turner move was the best thing that could have happened to the Padres. Yeah, Trea Turner, he is an amazing player, like I said. And he's, this all-star player, great shortstops, one of the best shortstops in baseball, maybe the best shortstop. He was just named the shortstop for the All-MLB team this year. But giving him 11 years is a long time. And maybe the Padres, they get Bogaerts or they get someone else, and that allows them to give $500+ million to Juan Soto in an extension, which is the guy that I would rather have long-term, Soto or Turner. I'd rather have Soto. And this could allow the Padres to go focus on spending on pitching, which was their Achilles heel in the NLCS, right? Game 4, Clevenger and Manaea. Like, that was their Achilles heel, was the starting pitching. And so that needs to be their priority. I still think that. And so maybe this, not spending $300 million on Trea Turner will actually help the Padres long term. We shall see. Now, Kevin Acee, he did report, and this was interesting. Today, he reported that the Padres were in it to win it with Trea Turner. And his signing with the Phillies was a major letdown internally with the organization. They thought their offer could have gotten it done. So what that tells me is they were really in it on Trea Turner, meeting with him twice. They really wanted Trey. And based on the projections, it was 7-8 years. And so I'm thinking that the Padres thought if they offered him 8 years at $280 million or something like that, he would have taken it. And he would have, that would have been a good enough deal, like the Padres think, according to Kevin Acee. But the Phillies got in there, John Middleton, and said, I'm not losing out on this guy. So I'll give him 11 years and $300 million and no opt-outs and no trade clause and just everything benefiting Trea Turner. The Padres can't. They were not going to match that, and I'm totally fine with them not matching that. It was kind of like the Seiya Suzuki thing last offseason. That wasn't 11 years, but 5 for 85 felt like an overpay. So I was fine with losing Suzuki, and it ended up working out with Profar, right? Now, they don't have a left fielder right now, but maybe they get Bogaerts. They spend the rest of the Turner money on starting pitching, and you have Tatis playing the outfield, and you have a great team, right? So we shall see what happens. If the Padres had the money for Trea Turner, let's say they had $300 million for Trea Turner, and they thought that their offer could have gotten it done, then they have $300 million for Xander Bogaerts. Now, I don't think Bogaerts is going to get $300 million, but they have the money. Don't let them fool you. They have the money to go get Xander Bogaerts if they truly want to. They have the roster flexibility to truly make it work if they want to. If they want to move Tatis to the outfield, they can do that. They will make it work if they really do want Xander Bogaerts. And they want the best player out there, okay, it's Bogaerts or Correa, right? It's not the first baseman. It's not a left fielder. If they want Bogaerts, they can go get him. They have the money. They were in it to win it for Turner, according to Acee. They thought they had an offer that he would accept, but he didn't. You still have that money. You did not spend that money on something else. You didn't go spend it on starting pitching tonight. Maybe they do, but as I'm talking right now to you, they have not spent the money that they reserved for Trea Turner. So if they don't get Bogaerts or they don't get a big starting pitcher, well, money is not an excuse. They had the money. So that's what I want to say about that. I hope Xander Bogaerts comes because he is an impact bat. He can hit to all fields. When anyone says, "Oh, I don't think he's going to age well," I don't think he's going to age as well as Trea Turner, but he can still slide over to third base. Now Manny plays there, but Manny could opt out, and we've heard that the Padres could get Bogaerts to use it as a safety net. Maybe you move Bogaerts to second base. First base, I don't really think that's an option, but hey, maybe when he gets older. You're getting him for his bat, and he is an impact bat. Since 2018, I believe, I saw this on MLB Network the other day. He has the highest OPS plus among shortstops. So, look, Trea Turner is great, but Xander Bogaerts is not going to be $300 million. That's not going to be the price tag, right? So, I think, Bogaerts, he is a very good consolation prize, and you could get Bogaerts, and you can go sign a starting pitcher, Bassett or Walker or whoever, to improve both sides of the team, offense and the pitching staff. He had a 5.8 WAR this past season. 15 home runs is not a lot, but he hit 307. You put a 307 hitter in the middle of the lineup, sign me up. And you put him around Tatis and Manny and Soto, right? And Cronenworth, and maybe another bat, Michael Brantley. The Padres have expressed interest in him. That's a very, very strong lineup. Let me get to the chat here before talking about some other things that are happening here in the winter meetings. This is day 2. Some might say day 1. It's the first full day, but it is Monday and at the winter meetings, and then there's Tuesday tomorrow, which Aaron Judge might be here in San Diego, so who knows about that. Maybe he gets a deal done then. And then Wednesday, the Rule 5 draft happens. Irie says, I heard the Pirates are interested in Adrian Morejon and Luis Campusano. I did not hear that. Maybe they are, but I don't think they should be interested in Luis Campusano. He doesn't seem like a fit for the Pirates because they have that top prospect, Henry Davis, that they just drafted a couple years ago, and they're thinking that he's going to be the catcher. Michael says the Padres can't do any big name signings, only a big name through a trade. I disagree. I mean, they were willing to go bring Trea Turner in for 7-8 years probably. We don't know what the offer was, but according to Acee, they thought the offer could have gotten the deal done. So 7-8 years is, I think, a good guess. Over $250 million. So they have the money to go spend big on guys. So I disagree with that. They could go get Sean Murphy or a Brian Reynolds, someone in trade, but I don't think the Padres want to give up a lot of their farm system because it's just not as deep as it used to be, right? Maybe they make a trade for a back-end starting pitcher, and they can make that work, low salary, and they don't have to give up, a Jackson Merrill or a Dylan Lesko or a Luis Campusano, right? And that can work for them. But they have the money to go make those big-name signings. It's just, do they want it? The Phillies, they wanted it more than the Padres did, right? Like, sometimes you got to tip your cap. Okay, 11 years, $300 million. Okay, you can go to the Phillies. But if the Padres want Bogaerts, they can get him. Now, there's competition. The Diamondbacks, we're hearing, the Red Sox, maybe. But some people, there's been reports that the Red Sox, they haven't even made competitive offers for Bogaerts. So who knows what's going to happen there. But there's other teams that could be involved. Remember, Swanson's out there. So the Cubs, the Braves, if Swanson doesn't go back there. So the Angels might even pop in there, the Giants if they don't get Judge. So there's a lot of different shortstop names, different options out there. But there's going to be competition for Bogaerts. But if the Padres want it, they can go get it. Like, they can make it work. They have the resources to do so. Michael says if the Padres go into the third luxury tax situation, they pay with draft picks and international signings. This hurts the future. It hurts the future, but Peter Seidler has shown that he's trying to win right now. Right? You don't bring in Juan Soto for 2 years, 2.5 years, and not try to go all out, right? You didn't bring in Josh Hader for this past postseason and this season. You know he's going to walk in free agency. You didn't bring him in to not try your hardest and try to win now, right? Like, Manny could opt out after this season. Darvish, free agent after the season. Snell, a free agent after the season. It might hurt the future, but the Padres, they are trying to win now. That is pretty obvious. They were in on Trey Turner when we already have a shortstop, multiple shortstops. They're in on Bogaerts when we have multiple shortstops. Like, they're going for it. They don't care about the luxury tax. I don't think that's in really their thought process, or even in Peter Seidler's thought process. Maybe they're thinking like it's in the back of their head, but they're trying to win right now, and you got to love that if you're a Padres fan. Michael again says no Bogaerts. He wants to get paid. The big names all want to be paid with the playoff team. Yeah, but the Padres, like my previous point, they're willing to do that. They've shown that they're willing to pay. They supposedly offered Trea Turner over $200 million. Or at least, if you thought a deal was going to get done, it has to be over 200, probably over 250. So they're willing to spend the money. The big names all want to be paid with playoff teams. That fits the Padres. They're willing to pay the players, and they're a playoff team. So they could go get someone, a big name in free agency, definitely. And Michael, he says, I'm looking for trades at the winter meetings. I mean, yeah, Preller, he loves to trade. He just doesn't have as much of a farm system. He could trade big league pieces, but let's say he trades, I'm just throwing this guy out there, like Ha-Seong Kim. Then So Tatis is going to be the shortstop, then you better get an outfielder. Or if you trade Kim, you better go bring in Bogaerts, or better bring in Correa or Swanson if you want Tatis in the outfield and you're not planning on bringing in a corner outfielder, right? Because if you don't have a plan there and you don't go sign a shortstop and you make a trade to get a starting pitcher or whatever, and it's not going to be as strong of a team, and you're going to leave some holes open, right? Okay, continuing on here. So I did speak with Kevin Acee today at the winter meetings. You can go look at that conversation on YouTube. He told me that the Padres have met with Bogaerts, so just continuing that Bogaerts conversation, they're interested, and I would be surprised if they don't offer him a contract. I don't know how long the contract would be. Kevin Acee didn't know that. He didn't know like the dollars or anything, but if we're looking at projections and predictions, 7-8 years, it's not going to be $300 million like Trea Turner. But I think it could be, the 250 range, maybe more than that. I mean, there's a lot of money being tossed around right now. So, but most of some of it is starting pitching money. We did see today with Trea Turner, $300 million for Turner for 11 years. So it doesn't really matter. Positions or position players is what I mean to say. Pitching, a lot of money is being thrown around. So it could get much higher than 250. And if that's the case, then maybe the Padres bow out. Even if they do, like having Tatis as your shortstop on April 20th, that's not a bad consolation prize. If they go get another bat, if they go get starting pitching, like I was on John and Jim today here from the winter meetings with Jim, because John left for the Aztecs game. So he had me on there in that last segment. And I was talking about how they don't need to get a Trea Turner or a Xander Bogaerts to have this offseason be a successful one. Like, the good thing about the Padres is they don't have to go get a Manny Machado, right? There's some teams that needed to go get a Manny Machado type guy to really be that big World Series contender, right? The Padres, they have the stars in place. They have that star rotation. They have Darvish and Snell and Musgrove and Martinez, who's been reliable. They have Hader and Suarez, right? They have Garcia. They have Soto. They have Tatis and Manny and Cronenworth. Like, they have a pretty solid team. They just need to fill those smaller holes in the rest of the lineup. That's what we're looking at here. So if they don't if they don't go get a big name or a couple big names, it's not the end of the world. The big names that I want, if I could choose, is probably the starting pitching market. Carlos Rodon. Ken Rosenthal said yesterday when I talked to him, that conversation is also available on this YouTube channel. Podcast platforms, just go look up Talking Friars. I encourage you to subscribe for this winter meetings content, daily Padres entertainment. Just Ken Rosenthal was saying how he thinks Carlos Rodon is probably a stretch for the Padres. But let's say they don't sign Xander Bogaerts and they're content with Kim and Tatis being at shortstop. Okay, well, how about that money you were willing to give Trea Turner? That's a lot of money that you can spend on starting pitching, on multiple bats, right? So you could, let's say they don't get a shortstop, they can use that big money on a starting pitcher. And I'd be really happy with that because, as I mentioned earlier, the Achilles heel for the Padres in the postseason was what? Starting pitching. Not the top of the rotation, but if you have a chance to add top of the rotation arms and just make your rotation the best in baseball, go do it. If you're AJ Preller, right? You're trying to win right now. Peter Seidler's trying to win right now. And like even the scouting department, Preller was talking to the media today here at the winter meetings, and he was saying how, I've told Chris Kemp and the scouting staff, like, the qualifying offer, it's not going to scare us. We're willing to go, he didn't say Bassett like specifically, but Bassett is a guy that has the qualifying offer attached to him. We're willing to go sign guys and not look at the qualifying offer and be like, oh, because we have the qualifying offer there attached to this guy, we're not going to go sign him. Like, that's not a barrier. The Padres scouting staff takes that as a challenge. If you don't know what I mean, when you have the qualifying offer attached, you have to give up draft picks. And it would have to be multiple draft picks and $1 million in international bonus pool money because the Padres went over that. I think it was the second luxury tax number this past year. So there's a penalty there's a bigger penalty if you spend on qualifying offer players. But Preller, he's not fazed by that. Look, they're trying to win right now. And so you're not going to let a qualifying offer, you're not going to let a couple draft picks who probably won't turn out to be a Chris Bassett. You're not going to let those draft picks stop you from making moves and improving your rotation and thus improving your odds to win the World Series, right? Get to the World Series for the first time since 1998, right? Get back to the NLCS. That's the goal here, right? So I already talked about Rodon there. Kevin Acee, he also reported earlier this morning. I was up at like 1:30 in the morning because I had some schoolwork to do, and then I looked at Kevin Acee's Twitter, and I was like, oh, okay, here's an article. So I read that, and there was some pretty interesting stuff there. So he said that the Padres have engaged with Yuli Gurriel, 39-year-old Yuli Gurriel. I don't know how high I'd be on bringing Yuli Gurriel into the Padres, considering what he did with his eyes to Yu Darvish in the World Series and the fact that he's 39. The guy had a negative WAR this past season. OPS plus, league average is 100. His OPS plus was 84. His OPS was 647. You want your first baseman to have an OPS of 750, 800. That's not close to that, right? His on-base percentage was below 300. He only had 8 home runs this year. How many games did he play? He played 146 games, so it wasn't this small sample size either. So I'm not high on Yuli Gurriel, but maybe that's their plan E or their plan D, right? We don't know. Preller, he kicks the tires on everyone. So just because you see Kevin Acee tweet out, oh, the Padres have engaged with Yuli Gurriel, I don't think you should take too much into that. He's just doing his due diligence. I wouldn't expect Yuli Gurriel to be with the Padres unless it's for like a bench role, because you need more production out of that first base position if you're the Padres. You just do. I'd bring back Brandon Drury if I were the Padres over Yuli Gurriel. He also said the Padres are interested in Michael Brantley, which is interesting. I am a big fan of Michael Brantley. Sure, he's coming off of that shoulder injury, but when you look at pure hitters, this guy is a pure hitter. Again, last year, 5 home runs, but he was hurt. So you got to look at years prior to that. 2021, he was an all-star. He hit 311. 311 in 120 games, 121 games. Sure. Oh, sorry about that. The home runs were not there, right? But, again, like my previous point before this about Bogaerts, yeah, he doesn't have great power numbers either, but the Padres, they're looking for great hitters right now. You need more production. You need good offensive production. I don't think they care if it's, a 40 home run hitter, because they do have those guys in the lineup already. Tatis can do that. Manny can do that, right? Soto can do that. Hopefully he rebounds, in 2023, he's more comfortable. So I think the Padres, they're looking for the best hitters, best lineup possible. And Michael Brantley, he would definitely help that. And he might not be hitting third in the lineup, but he could be hitting 5th or 6th. And if I was an opposing pitching staff and I have, Brantley hitting 5th or 6th, that's not good for me. Because guess what? Right in front of that, I have to go through, when Tatis is healthy, Tatis, Soto, Manny, Cronenworth, maybe another bat, first base bat, let's say. Or if they bring back Profar, we know he has strong at-bats. So, you bring in Brantley, add another bat on top of that, that is a deep lineup. And you have Nola hitting 8th, Grisham hitting 9th. That's not the end of the world. Grisham can only go up from here after his bad season, terrible season. And Austin Nola, maybe he's not the starting catcher for the whole season. Maybe they have Campusano in there, and he has more power than Nola, so that makes the lineup even better. Hopefully Campusano is developing, right? So that's a couple guys Acee said the Padres are interested in, Gurriel and Brantley. He also mentioned Trey Mancini and Dom Smith. For those that have been watching the show, they know that I am intrigued by the Dom Smith possibility. I'm intrigued by the platoon of Drury and Smith. I don't think that the Padres would be spending a boatload of money with Drury and Smith there. People say, yeah, Dom Smith sucked last year, and he did. But he wasn't playing first base his regular position. He was dealing with injuries. They were sticking him out in left field. He wasn't getting consistent playing time. You give him an invite to spring training and see what happens, kind of like Nomar Mazara, I would definitely do that, without a doubt. This is a guy that was one of the best prospects in baseball at one point. Preller, he saw that with Profar, right? Profar wasn't performing up to his best, right? He brings him in, and now he's in free agency. He might get $15 million a year. So if they can work with Dom Smith, or maybe he just goes to a place where he's more comfortable, which might be San Diego over New York, and maybe he gets consistent playing time, and in spring training, and see what happens. In Brandon Drury, he hits lefties very well, so you can have a platoon there. Maybe that's something the Padres are looking at, but there might be a team that says, no, Brandon Drury, we don't want you to platoon. We'll give you the full starting job, right? So the Padres have to be aware of that as well. About Trey Mancini, he's another guy that I'd be interested in. Maybe it might have to be like a 2-year deal, but I'd be fine with like a 1-year deal for Mancini. Maybe it's a club option, and he could be a DH guy. He can play some first base if you want to platoon that. Getting Mancini would be a boost to the lineup, I think. I mean, yeah, he didn't have his best season last year. He didn't have his best postseason, but we have seen what he can do in the past in Baltimore. Let's go to 2022 in total this past year. His on-base percentage was 258, or 258 in Houston. Total, it was 319. He had a OPS of over 700, OPS plus of over 100, 18 home runs. I mean, that doesn't blow you away, but that's better than some power production that the Padres have put out there at first base in past years, right? I don't know what his market is, but we'll see. Congrats, Dave, on Trea Turner. Dave Dombrowski just walked by the way. Hey, congrats to the Phillies. I mean, giving $300 million to Trea Turner, 11 years. They got their guy. If they win a couple World Series out of it, then the contract's a success, and they won't care what happens after that. So we'll see how that contract works out. I'll get back to the chat here in a little bit. Another report. This was from Ken Rosenthal, saying that the Padres are interested in Christian Vasquez. They're one of the teams that are interested in him, which is really weird to me. I don't understand them being interested in Christian Vasquez. If they're interested in Vasquez, and let's say they bring Vasquez in, that has to be on some sort of, there has to be like another move coming after that, right? Like a trade of Campusano or a trade of Nola or something. Because why would you bring in Vasquez and have 3 catchers on the roster? Maybe Vasquez would be a DH option, but he's not a great offensive player. You're going to have Campusano DH? I think you want to develop him as a catcher and get him some consistent playing time at the catching position, right? So that one is interesting to me. I don't think that Vasquez really fits with the Padres. There are other teams out there that are better fits. The Cardinals, like, they need a starting catcher losing Yachty, right? The Twins was named by Rosenthal. The Cubs, the Guardians, Hedges is a free agent. So there's other teams out there that need starting catchers. The Padres don't need a starting catcher. I think they should be focusing their attention elsewhere on the market. not the catching market. Starting pitching should be the priority. Getting some more bats, like a Brantley or a Mancini or the trade route, right? That should be the priority. I don't think the catching position should be the priority. What else? The Twins have discussed trading Luis Arraez. That was something that happened, or a report that was it Ken? It was from The Athletic. Dan Hayes, he writes about the Twins, beat writer for the Twins, for The Athletic. He talked about how the Twins could trade Luis Arraez this offseason, according to sources familiar with the team's thinking. Sure, there's going to be people that are interested in Arraez. He gets compared to Tony Gwynn, a really hit machine. But is he a fit with the Padres? I don't know. The Twins, they'd ask for a lot for Arraez probably because he just won the batting title a couple seasons ago, right? Like this guy, he hits for average. He gets on base. He doesn't have a firm position. He could play second. He can play first. He can DH. So the Padres can move him around. Let's say they go with Tatis at short. They want Kim. They trade Kim, or they want Kim to be a utility guy, or they put Kim at short. They have Tatis in the outfield. Let's go with that scenario. You put Cronenworth at first. You can have Arraez play second, or you put Cronenworth at second. You can have Arraez play first. But they will have to give up something to the Twins, and the Twins, they want starting pitching, according to this article. Sonny Gray, Kenta Maeda, Tyler Mahle, they could be gone by 2024. So they want controllable starting pitchers for Arraez. The Padres, they don't really have that. They're not giving up Dylan Lesko for Arraez, right? Musgrove, they're not trading him. Ryan Weathers, are the Twins really interested in Ryan Weathers? His stock probably plummeted last year after his bad minor league season, right? Jay Groom, maybe the Padres trade him, but then you're messing with your AAA depth with injuries and all that. And Julio Teheran is obviously a one-year deal. That's not even a possibility. So I just don't really see the fit for what the Twins are looking for with Luis Arraez for a trade. Maybe I think he could fit the Padres. I mean, salary-wise, it's not a bunch of money, and he could slot in a position, move him around. We know Preller likes the versatility, but the Twins are asking for something that the Padres just don't really have, right? And that is controllable starting pitching. They traded that to the Twins with Paddock, right? They traded that with the Guardians, Cal Quantrill. They traded that with other pitching, Joey Lucchesi to the Mets, right, in that 3-team deal. So the controllable starting pitching, it's gone. So I just don't really see the Padres as a trade fit for Arraez. Anything else that I wanted to discuss here? I will get to the chat, obviously. Profar. So I will get to the Jerks and Profar tidbit that Kevin Acee reported about today. But first,
this episode is sponsored by Gaglione Bros famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road, and you can visit gaglionebros.com for their menu and contact information. You can also enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and inside Snapdragon Stadium.
All right, so I'm just checking Twitter here because maybe someone just wrote an article or something. I'm seeing people tweeting about Seidler and Preller not messing around. I'll find it. Let me get to this Jerks and Profar. Not news, but Kevin Acee reported in the Union Tribune today that there's a desire by the Padres to bring back Jerks and Profar. Now, maybe their desire goes from here to none. I'm showing the screen for the podcast audience, from way up to it plummet if they move Tatis to the outfield, so they don't want Profar back. Let's say they get a shortstop, then all of a sudden you probably don't have a lot of desire to bring back Jerks and Profar, right? If he's going to get $15 million a year or 12, 15 million a year, I don't know if I would do that. for 4 years at Profar, or if that's what it feels like it's going to be, like 4 years, I don't think I would do that if I were the Padres. I mean, might as well just go with a 1-year option or try Tatis in the outfield because I just don't see Profar continuing to play at the level that he did this past year for 4 more years, right? Maybe that's just me, but that's just kind of my thoughts on that. I think as of now, yeah, there should still be interest in bringing Jurickson Profar back. Good clubhouse presence. He was a good leadoff hitter. I think he could be valuable at the bottom of the order when Tatis comes back, because Tatis would be leading off, you would think. Switch hitter, right? Like that is valuable. He did improve his defense in left field this past season. Where was I going to go with this? Oh, yeah. I think, look, they should be interested. Like, he's a good player. But I don't think they should be interested in overpaying for him, if that makes sense. So that was pretty much the news from today so far from the winter meetings. By the way, this was what I was talking about. I was distracted on Twitter here because Jim Russell tweeted out, the Phillies wanted to capitalize on those feelings about Trea Turner. Trea Turner, according to multiple sources, left money on the table. The actual terms of the Padres' final offer were unclear. California has a higher income tax rate, but San Diego's offer was believed to be significant enough to offset that. So is this saying that the Padres' offer was bigger than the Phillies' offer of $300 million? This is an article in The Athletic, so I'll probably have to go read that when I'm done here. But that is interesting. Here, I'll try to pull it up right here. But I will get to the chat while I am trying to do this, trying to multitask here, because that is interesting. If the Padres' final offer could have offset the higher income tax, then that just means that Trea Turner, he wanted to be in Philadelphia. He wanted to be with Bryce Harper. He wanted to be in what could be a weaker division when you think about it, right? I mean, Jacob deGrom is gone. I know that they have Verlander, but the Mets, are they going to be a better team this year? I don't know. Maybe they lose Nimmo, and then they're definitely not a better team, right? The Braves, what if they lose Dansby Swanson, right? The Marlins, they're not a contender. So you look at the NL West, if you would have gone to the Padres, you have the Dodgers, you have the Diamondbacks who are in these Xander Bogaerts discussions. They have that young pitching, right? Like they're a pretty talented team. The Rockies have been mentioned, with Brandon Nimmo and all that. So it seems like there's a lot of teams in the NL West here that are trying to win. And maybe Turner saw that, and that was part of his decision-making. Or he just simply wanted to be in Philadelphia, and that was his plan all along, and he got what he wanted, right? So, all right, getting to the chat here while I try to load that Athletic article. If I don't load it, it's not the end of the world. All it said was the Padres' final offer for Turner was unclear. California has the higher income tax rate, but San Diego's offer was believed to be significant enough to offset that. So, look, as I said earlier, the Padres made a very competitive offer to Trea Turner. They wanted him. They were going all in for him. Okay, the article has loaded. This was Matt Gelb. So it starts off, fans at Lincoln Financial Field were yelling, sign Trea Turner at John Middleton. So the fans wanted him, obviously. Okay, here's the Padres part. This was in The Athletic today by Matt Gelb. He says, that team, multiple sources later revealed as the San Diego Padres, had a legitimate interest. They had met twice with Turner and were armed with an aggressive owner and GM. San Diego's engagement is what compelled Turner's agent, Jeff Berry, to contact other clubs a few days before the winter meetings to ask for offers. Turner's market had accelerated. So it did seem like there were multiple teams interested in Trea Turner, and his market was very, very good. But the Phillies and Turner's camp had been transparent through the entire process. Dombrowski had flown to Florida with GM Sam Fold and manager Rob Thompson before Thanksgiving to meet with Turner and his wife. Turner was impressed. Obviously, Turner has the strong relationship with the Phillies hitting coach, Kevin Long, who used to be in Washington, former teammates with Bryce Harper, who also used to be in Washington. So there were definitely connections there. Turners live in Florida, which is where the Phillies have their spring training. So that makes sense as well. There were reports out, obviously, about Trea Turner favoring the East Coast, wanting to be on the East Coast. So if that's the case, I mean, I understand why he took the Phillies offer, but it's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if we end up getting like the actual concrete offer that the Padres made. Dennis Lin just tweeted out, still a lot of disappointment from Padres officials who had already missed out on Abreu. That's another thing to take into account here. Like the Padres wanted Jose Abreu. They weren't even thinking, it didn't appear that they were thinking and going into this Trea Turner market because they wanted to just go the normal route and have Abreu at first base for a few years, not go long-term with anyone, ridiculous long-term deal. And that could save them and they could go all in on Soto. But now that Abreu's gone, there's just not that as strong of a first base market, right? Same with the corner outfield. So they're just trying to get the best offense possible. And I think that's why you're seeing them in this conversation. Not that they're trying to trade Tatis or trade Kim or Cronenworth or anyone like that, but they're just trying to win right now. And these are the best bats available. And so they're going after them. Dennis says, as Matt Gelb reports, San Diego offered more money than the Phillies, though exact terms remain unclear. All right, so now we officially know the Padres offered more money than the Phillies did. So, I mean, Kevin Acee's report then about the Padres thinking that their offer could have gotten the deal done, that is accurate. If they offered more money than the Phillies, then yeah, that could have gotten the deal done. But it looks like Trea Turner wanted to go on the East Coast. He wanted to be with the Phillies. And maybe he wants to be the shortstop and he didn't want to move positions. And the Phillies guaranteed him that. And maybe he saw with the Padres, he was like, well, Fernando's on the team and Kim's on the team. And there's just other options. And maybe I'm not playing shortstop for the rest of my time with the Padres. And I'm guaranteed that with the Phillies. We don't know what his thought process was. But this brings me back to my point earlier. Dennis Lin is saying that the Padres offered more money than the Phillies. If they did, then they're willing to spend a ton of money on a shortstop. So why not use that money for Xander Bogaerts, who would be less than Trea Turner, and then you can use the rest of that Turner money left over to go get starting pitching. So you can help your offense and you can help your pitching staff, your Achilles heel, right? I mean, that makes the most sense, doesn't it? How about Dansby Swanson? Some people don't want him. Some people think you're going to overpay him because of Atlanta, and Atlanta really wants to bring him back. But you could spend on even more starting pitching, or you could spend on a big starter, Dansby Swanson, for like 5 years, and then you could go get another big bat. And so you improved your lineup with 2 bats instead of just 1. You added to your rotation, and you're getting Tatis back. Like, that makes you a much better team, an improved team going into next year. So there's a lot of different things the Padres could do here. They have the money. They're willing to spend the money. That is clear according to Dennis Lin here. And Matt Breen. Matt Breen was reporting it as well. San Diego offered more money than the Phillies. Exact terms remain unclear, but they are willing to spend money. That is for sure. All right, let's get to the rest of the chat here. Again, I am live from the winter meetings. I saw Dave Dombrowski walk by. The MLB Network set is to my right. Thank you so much for tuning in here. If you want to support the channel, a great way is to use that super chat button. I will make sure to get to all of those comments. If you do use that super chat button, we got over 100 people in here. I really, really appreciate you being here with me tonight. When I'm done with this, maybe I'll go talk to some more people depending on who's in the lobby. But I'm doing this for you guys. I'm a Padres fan, and just I love talking with other Padres fans, right? This is our passion. Samuel asks, what do you think on bringing in maybe Xander, Drury, Tyone, or Bassett, Bellinger, Brantley? That's a lot of names you threw out there. I like Xander. I like Drury. Maybe platoon him with someone. I like Tyone. I like Bassett. According to reports, Tyone's going to have a strong market, though. So the Padres are going to have to pay up for Tyone. Maybe it's 4 or 5 years. That might be the same thing for Bassett as well. I think they'll get less money than Rodon. Rodon's like the next big starter, right? DeGrom's off the board, went to the Rangers. And then Verlander went to the Mets today. Like Rodon's that next big guy. So he's going to get paid. Maybe I tend to agree with Rosenthal that Rodon is a stretch, but I only agree with that because the Padres are trying to fill other needs on the offense as well. And I wouldn't agree with Rosenthal if it was just starting pitching that they were trying to fill, because it wouldn't be a stretch. They'd be able to spend that money on Rodon and go all in on Rodon. But yeah, Xander, Drury, Tyone, Bassett, Bellinger, Brantley, I like those names. I'm intrigued by Bellinger, but he's like Profar. He's not someone I'm willing to overpay. His swing's messed up. If the Dodgers couldn't fix him, I hesitate to think that the Padres can, but I could be wrong. Him and Drury could make a good platoon. DH, first base. I think both can play the outfield. We know Bellinger can. Drury can play a little bit of left field as well. Quan says Rodon and Nimmo. Nimmo, I don't see how he fits the Padres. Center fielder, he hasn't stayed healthy consistently. I let the Mets or the Rockies go pay for him. Like 5 years, $80 million. I don't want to invest that in Nimmo when I have Juan Soto that I'm trying to extend. And I have Tatis that can just go jump into the outfield. We have Trent Grisham. He is what he is. I look at it as you don't need Trent Grisham to be a superstar next year. You don't need Brandon Nimmo. You're adding that great offensive player in Fernando, and you're adding hopefully a great offensive player in Soto, because Soto was not great with the Padres for most of the time when he was with the Padres. So I look at it that way. Like the Padres are already going to improve their lineup, assuming that they do add some bats. They don't have to be huge bats. They don't have to be paying Nimmo a bunch of money when they already have a center fielder. They already have Juan Soto, right? So I don't think he really fits. But I like Rodon. But according to Ken Rosenthal, he told me yesterday that that's probably a stretch for the Padres. I'm just going through the chat here. Leo asks, what part of the order does Xander bat? I don't know. It's a good question. How would we do that? Bogaerts, he's a righty. I like having Tatis lead off. So Tatis, and then you have Soto, then you have Manny. Do you want back-to-back? You probably have Bogaerts at fourth or fifth maybe, depending on other bats that they add. You have Crony in there in the middle. Like, it's a talented lineup. That would be probably arguably the best top half of an order in baseball if they get Bogaerts. It definitely would have been if they got Trea Turner, I think. JB says, I support Tatis. I think he's going to come back killing it. I agree. I support Tatis. Why would you not support him, right? Sure, did he let the Padres fan base down? Yeah, I've already said that. I've already gone through that at length. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything about it now. I'm always going to remember that he let the 2022 team down, and it's a question mark. Like, what if? What if Tatis was healthy? They made it to the NLCS without him. What would have happened with him? But all you can do is just move forward. This guy's a great player. They signed him to be a superstar, and they shouldn't trade him. They need to keep him on the roster. He's a big part in this Padres team's success that they will have in the future. I truly do believe that. This guy, he was a 40-plus home run player in 2021. Like, let's not forget that. Sure, he's dealt with some injuries, but according to what Preller's been saying in reports, he's doing everything right. He had the surgeries when he didn't want to have the surgeries, right? He did that to show the team I'm willing to do this and increase my probability of staying on the field. Like, he's doing all the right things. It did seem like the apology was sincere. He let the he did leave. He let the team out to dry, or he let the team down. They were all expecting him to come back, and then he didn't come back. Yeah, I mean, I guess just getting back to your comment, yeah, I support Tatis. I think we all should. I don't think. I mean, what does it do to boo him? Right? I know some season ticket holders around me that have said, I'm going to boo him when he comes back. Like, what does that do? I'm probably not going to give him a standing ovation when he first comes back, but when he does something, I'm going to cheer for him because he's on the Padres. I want the Padres to do well. Edwards says he would sign Bellinger and Correa. See, that's interesting. Correa is not a name that the Padres have been associated with. Who knows if they've met with him? It's been Bogaerts and Turner. Those are the big names. So who knows? I think that Preller probably has kicked the tires on Correa, but that hasn't been reports. Maybe that's a good thing. Like, there's been some moves where there's been some moves that no report has come out like beforehand that the Padres are interested in this person, and then they go get that person. So maybe it's a good thing that we're not hearing anything about their interest in Correa, or if you're someone that wants Bellinger, we're not hearing anything about their interest in Bellinger. So you're just going, maybe the Padres are going in silence and they go trade for them, or not trade, they go sign them, right? So we'll see. By the way, that was Hog running behind me, or running on the hallway here, so that's why I was laughing. He's trying to disrupt my live stream here. I'm doing it for the people here, and he's over there messing around. Good question here. What's the atmosphere down there? I mean, here right now it's quiet because people are going out to eat. The radio stations, they're obviously off the air, but during the day, it's pretty loud. The lobby was packed today, definitely more than yesterday when people were getting into town. I only had one interview today. Maybe I have another one later tonight. Who knows? But I only had one interview today because people were busy. I mean, I tried getting Jeff Passan, and he was busy. He had to go talk to people. John Heyman was busy. So we'll see what happens. But the atmosphere, it's really good. I think they should have the winter meetings here every year. Kind of a good point by Cobra here. He says if the Padres offer Turner $300 million, they can offer Judge that. Yes, but are you going to keep Soto and Judge? Like, you're going to give $800 million combined to Judge and Soto, and $300 million is not going to get Aaron Judge done. The Yankees offer, according to Jeff Passan, is 8 years, $300 million. It's only going to go up from there, right? We know that in free agency. Someone leaks an offer to get the other team competing for him to up their offer. And the Giants, I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants have given Judge a 9th year, to be honest. So, yeah, you could say the Padres, well, they offered Turner $300 million. According to Dennis Lin and Matt Breen, The Athletic, they offered Trea Turner more than the Phillies did, so more than $300 million. So they have the money. But Aaron Judge, he's, 30 years old right now? So paying him till he's 39 is not something that interests me. Yeah, he stayed healthy this year, and it was an amazing free agent walk year for him. 62 home runs, the whole thing. But I'm hesitant to believe that he's going to do that consistently year in and year out. And what I mean by that, consistently hit, 50 home runs a year and stay healthy the whole year. I just don't think that's going to happen. And he would not have as good numbers at Petco as he did at Yankee Stadium. I think that's just a fact. I think Judge is not someone that they should be entertaining. Like corner outfield, yeah, that's a need, but I think the left field position, it should be someone short term. I don't think it should be Aaron Judge. You should be focused on extending Juan Soto, giving him $500 million at some point. I don't know if they're going to offer him that this offseason. They got a lot of holes to fill. They need to focus elsewhere to improve this team, right? Go all in this year. But maybe it happens next offseason. Preller did say at the end of season press conference that they are having discussions about it and kind of gauging Juan Soto's interest and Scott Boras. And so they're going to have conversations, I'm sure, about it. We'll see what comes of that. Edward says Padres need to talk to Judge. Again, I don't think that's where their focus should be. Like, I love Aaron Judge. He's a great player, seems like a really great human and a great leader. But I'd rather have Juan Soto long-term than Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge just hit 62 home runs, and that might sound stupid of me to be saying that right now based off of that season that Judge had and the season that Soto had. But Soto, he stays healthier. I think you could see him play the field longer than Judge, like for more years down the road. I think Judge will probably end up DHing at the end of his career, kind of like Miguel Cabrera, not playing the field a ton. Judge, it's nothing against Judge. I just think the priority needs to be starting pitching, getting a bat for 1 or 2 years, and extending Juan Soto. Get the Soto extension. Like, guarantee that you can get that Soto extension done. Getting Judge, yeah, that makes the team better, obviously. But the injuries, man, I question his ability to stay healthy consistently. If you look, I mean, I can look him up right now. Let me look up his games played. I mean, he had a great year. His OPS was over 1,000. He had a 10.6 WAR this year, but look at the games played. So he missed time in 2021 a little bit, 148 games played. 2020, 60-game season, he only played 28 games. 2019, 162-game season, 102 games. The year before that, 112 games. He stayed healthy in 17. Like, there's been a few years where he stayed healthy, but then there's also years where he hasn't. And there's been years where the Yankees were babying him and not playing him like for 5 days straight because they were concerned that he was going to get hurt. So if the Yankees are doing that, they know him best. They know him better than we do, right? If they're doing that, then I'd be concerned about his injury history long term. Irie says, Jake Cronenworth for Corbin Burns if we get Bogaerts. Cronenworth, you should not be trading him with multiple years of control. This is a guy that you have hit in the middle of the order. He can play first base. If you get Bogaerts, you don't have a first baseman still, right? You're shifting Cronenworth over to first and having Kim play second, right? That's what would happen. So why would you trade trading Cronenworth? One, the Brewers have already said that it would take a lot to get Corbin Burns, and I don't think that they will trade Corbin Burns this offseason. That seems more like a trade deadline thing if the Brewers are out of it or if they get blown away by an offer. But it would have to be way more than Jake Cronenworth for Corbin Burns. And I'm not someone that would trade Jake Cronenworth. Well, straight up, Cronenworth for Burns, I'd think about it, but Cronenworth and like Merrill and stuff like that, like Corbin Burns is one of the best starters in baseball. He would cost some top prospects, some real impact guys that is on the Padres' active major league roster right now. Christopher says, what's up, Padres? Mets fan here, good stream. Mets, I mean, what are the Mets doing? Are they going to be better? I guess if you're still here, Christopher, are the Mets going to be better in 2023? Because they signed Verlander, so people are saying, okay, that just replaces DeGrom. But what if they lose out on Brandon Nimmo? Like, what's their outfield situation going to look like? They have like more than half of their bullpen as free agents, right? So I'm interested to see the Mets in their roster construction. What is that going to look like? Because I expect the Mets to be contending with the Padres for the National League again, but right now it seems like the Mets aren't going to be as good as they were in 2022, and the Padres beat them in the wild card round. So Mets fans probably aren't too happy. I'm just trying to get a pulse of different fan bases around baseball. It's just fun. I mean, the winter meetings are a very, very fun time. There's a lot of Judge talk continuing here in this chat. I mean, yeah, I think it got a lot of Preller talking about corner outfield and that that's the ideal fit. That got a lot of play, right? People were talking, oh, Aaron Judge, he had a big smile on his face in the presser today, and corner outfield or a corner bat is what Preller said. There's a bunch of corner bats out there that are not named Aaron Judge, right? So I think we need to take a little bit of a chill pill there when we're talking about, oh, Aaron Judge, Padres, they offered $300 million to Trea Turner, or more than that, right? As we're hearing, you should be able to offer that to Judge. Yeah, they're able to probably, but I don't think that they believe that his production is going to continue at this rate for the next 9 years, the next decade, which is what it's going to take to get Aaron Judge. Let me check Twitter here again real quick just to see if there's any updates. I don't see any updates here. Okay. All right, continuing with the chat here. Jim says, did you see that the Cubs met with Josh Bell? I did not see that. That's interesting. I don't really see Josh Bell coming back to the Padres. I'd kind of be surprised. I mean, I'm seeing projections of like 3 years, $40 million for Josh Bell. I'm not giving 3 years to Josh Bell. I'd be open for 2 years maybe, definitely 1 year. Him being a switch hitter, being able to DH and play first, that's definitely something that I like about him. But he did struggle with the Padres, and the way that money is being just tossed around here, it feels like Josh Bell is going to get overpaid by someone. And if I'm the Padres, I don't want to be that team. I'd rather just go with a cheaper platoon if I were the Padres. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm behind on the chat here. I'm just seeing you guys talk about Dennis Lin's tweet from 20 minutes ago. Adam says someone on Twitter put the Padres offered 5 years, $160 million to Turner. Did not seem like a credible source. Well, yeah, when you're seeing the Athletic report that the Padres offered more money to Trea Turner than the Phillies did, they didn't offer 160 million. Maybe that was a proposal early on, but no, they offered more than $300 million is what it seems like, according to these reports tonight from Dennis Lin from the Athletic. Again, it says San Diego's engagement is what compelled Turner's agent Jeff Berry to contact other clubs a few days before the winter meetings to ask for offers. Turner's market had accelerated. So that means the Padres were really serious about Trea Turner. And the Padres were like, hey, let's make a decision here. And so Jeff Berry was contacting other clubs and saying, here's the Padres offer. What's your offer? Let's get this thing going here because we love the Padres offer. Now, what are you going to offer us? He probably set a deadline. We don't know that for sure, but according to what's being written here, the Padres seem to have accelerated Turner's market. But, I mean, it was going to happen anyway. Like the Padres, if they wanted him, they were going to have to express interest. And it's their right, Jeff Berry and Trea Turner's right, to take that offer and go talk to other teams and say, hey, can you match this offer? Can you make another offer similar to this? And it looks like that's what the Phillies did tonight or today. Someone asked, have you seen any GMs? Yes. I mean, Dave Dombrowski just walked by. I've not seen Preller. He's probably just up in his suite texting away on his phone. He loves to call people too, so he's probably making a lot of phone calls. Oh, here's Giovanni. Yeah, I met him today. He says, pleasure meeting you today, bro. I say, let's go for Correa. That would be an electric lineup. Yeah, I mean, that would be a great lineup. I'd like to have Carlos Correa on the Padres, but with Trea Turner signing for $300 million and Scott Boras being Correa's agent, we know that Boras is going to take that offer and say, Correa, he's going to put up numbers on a board and say, Correa is better than Turner, blah, blah, blah. This is why this guy performs in the postseason, da-da-da-da, and he's going to try to get more money than Trea Turner. Do the Padres like Correa as much as they like Turner? I don't know. If they did, I imagine we would have heard about it already. We have not heard that the Padres are even interested in Carlos Correa, right? We heard about Bogaerts. They've met with him in person. That's what Acee told me today. They met twice, obviously, with Trea Turner, but we haven't heard about if they have interest in Swanson. I would like to have Swanson be in the Padres uniform. It allows you to go spend on starting pitching. And we have not heard about the Padres' interest in Carlos Correa, so we'll see. Irie, thank you for that comment. Says thanks for putting in the work, Ben. No, I mean, this isn't work to me. This is like Disneyland. Like, kids that you spend all day at Disneyland and they're so excited about it. This is me. I mean, I woke up at 5:50 in the morning, had breakfast, and walked over a mile to the trolley from where I live. Took the trolley, walked over a mile, probably about a mile from the trolley by Petco to the hotel, and I've been here since 7:40 in the morning. So I've been here for 13 plus hours. I'm not. If it was work, I would have left already. Like, this isn't work for me. This is something that I love. It's just a passion. So thank you for the comment, though. Irie says all the ladies want Voit back. Yeah, the Chess Moss. I mean, I don't think he'd be the worst option, but he's definitely not the first option or the second option or the third option or the fourth option. I mean, what would it be? A 1-year deal, probably? I don't think the Padres want him playing first base every day. They probably want someone that could play first base every day. If you're having him DH, they probably want someone that's not going to strike out as much as Voit, right? So maybe he comes back, but I think kind of like Myers, someone will offer him a starting position somewhere. Now, it might not be on a contender, so if he wants to be on a contender, then maybe he thinks about the Padres or another contending team, and maybe he doesn't start every day. But if he gets a 1-year deal of $14-15 million to start for a team, or $10 million, and that's the best offer, he's going to take it and then hope that that team that he's on trades him before the trade deadline, and then he's on a contender. So I don't see the Padres bringing Luke Voit in, but maybe that's just me. Michael says, realistic budget, Bell, Drury, Mancini, Voit, and Wacha. I don't know about them bringing in Bell, Drury, and Mancini and Voit. Like, that's a lot of bats. But a combination of those, yeah. I don't think that they'll bring back Bell and Drury because I think Bell's probably going to get overpaid, and Drury might get overpaid as well. So it's probably one or the other if you're going to bring one back. But I could see Drury, Mancini, and I could see Wacha if they don't want to play in the Rodon waters or the Bassett waters, or let's say they get Bogaerts, and so they're like, okay, we spent a lot of money here. Let's go get a smaller pitcher, 1-year deal. I could see Wacha definitely as an option. I think earlier this offseason, one of my episodes was starting pitching options, and Wacha was one of those names. Edward asked, do you think the Padres will meet with Judge? I don't think so. Well, I don't want to say I don't think so. I mean, it's Preller, so, and he's, according to Brian Hoke, who covers the Yankees, he's expected to be in San Diego tomorrow. So I guess he could meet with Aaron Judge. I wouldn't put it past him just to see how much he's going to have to offer. But like I said earlier, I don't think it's in the Padres' best interest to go all out for Aaron Judge. I'd rather go all out for Juan Soto, keep him, and go get some pitching this offseason and get those bats 1-2 year deals this offseason. Just going through the comments here, just seeing anything that I want to bring up. Kind of a good point. SoCal Dude says if Padres wanted Judge, they should have kept James Wood. Yeah, but here's the thing: they wanted Juan Soto, and the Nationals probably said no, you have to include James Wood. And so yeah, I can see those comparisons with James Wood and Aaron Judge, but with the power and the size, right? I understand the comparisons, but who would I rather have, Soto or Judge long term? I'd rather have Soto, and you had to give up James Wood to get Juan Soto. So that's the price of doing business, Specific idea of how much Bogaerts will get and how long. I'm thinking like 7-8 years, maybe 8 years. Maybe someone gives him like $275. I don't think that he's going to get $300 million though. Any word on Senga? I think. Let me check on that real quick. There was a report, I think it was John Morosi today. The Cubs, by the way, they met with Carlos Correa today, so there's a little bit about Carlos Correa. Here it is. 6 hours ago from Morosi says, the Mets among teams showing continued interest in Kodai Senga. They aren't close to done with rotation upgrades. So the Mets are there. We know that he's visited with the Padres. We know he's visited with the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Mariners, the Rangers. They did just spend on DeGrom, so I don't know if you want to have the Rangers as a fit. The Padres, I think someone said today that it's unlikely the Padres get Senga, but I still wouldn't rule it out. I mean, they're interested in Senga. We know they are. Ken Rosenthal told me that yesterday. We know they're in on Senga. So I guess that's the update. They're in on Senga still, is what it seems like. But they're in on him, but it's probably not like if you were to bet, the Padres probably aren't the betting favorite for Senga. Daniel says, what do you think? $27 million for 4 years for who? Bogaerts? That doesn't get it done. I mean, he'll probably get what, $27 million a year, 27 times 8. That's $216. He's going to get more than that. He'll probably get $30 million a year from someone. So 4 years, 27. That's not good enough. For Senga, it might be for Senga. Sorry about. You might mean Senga, Daniel. If you mean Senga, just let me know. Yeah, Senga. Okay. For Senga, I think 27 mil would be too much. What I've been hearing is like 15 million, 15, 20 million. 27 for 4 years when we haven't seen him pitch in the big leagues. That's a big risk. I don't think the Padres would do that. 4 years, 27 per. That's like Bassett, or between Bassett and Rodon. I think Senga's more 575, like Christopher Wright says in the comments, or 580 or 585. But 27, that's a lot. That's a stretch. Michael says, any Mets stuff? This is a Padres show, but I mean, Mets among teams showing continued interest in Senga. They just signed Verlander, so I guess I could give my thoughts on that. 2 years, $43 million per year. I think that's the same AAV as Scherzer. So he reunites with his former Detroit Tigers teammate, replaced DeGrom. I think it's a win for the Mets. They didn't have to give DeGrom 5 years. They didn't have to overpay for DeGrom. And maybe you're overpaying for Verlander, but he did just win the Cy Young, did he not? I mean, so he did get that win in the World Series. Now, Scherzer, I think that's probably their bigger concern of the two guys. He's the one that got shelled by the Padres in the wild card game, right? So I think they should be worrying about Scherzer pitching in big games over Verlander. But, I mean, the Mets, they still have work to do. They got Verlander and Scherzer, but after that, Carrasco is the third starter? And then after that, who is it? Like, they still need to add arms. And they have an opening in center field, bullpen, so they got a lot of holes to fill. And why I answer that question is because what the Mets are doing is related to the Padres. Like, their interest in starting pitching, I am interested in seeing who they're interested in, who they get, because we're hearing that they're in on DeGrom and Senga. Well, that could be guys that the Padres are interested in. We know that the Padres are interested in Senga. So if the Mets get him, that's a blow to the Padres, right? That's it, So if they get Bassett, they bring Bassett back. That might have been a potential free agent target for the Padres, right? So the Mets and Padres are connected here in free agency. So it'll be interesting. Really fun Monday. The news happened in the morning. The first part of the day, Verlander to the Mets, leaving the Astros, Turner leaving the Dodgers to the Phillies. How'd that trade, by the way, for Turner and Scherzer work out for the Dodgers? Scherzer, Turner, they don't win a World Series for the Dodgers. And instead, you have Turner go to the Phillies and you have Scherzer go to the Mets and not go back to the Dodgers. And they gave up like their top prospects for that. So it's looking better and better that the Padres ended up not getting Scherzer. I would have liked to have Trea Turner, not going to lie. Obviously, I would have liked to have Scherzer, but they did collapse in 2021, so that would have been a wasted year anyway with both of those guys. So maybe the Dodgers were the ones that were the mistake, or they made the mistake making that deal. They would have made it at that time still, but looking back on it, the Nats won that deal probably. Fun day. Turner, Verlander off the board, but there's still plenty of guys available. Rodon, Bassett, Senga, Walker. That's the pitchers. And then you got the shortstops, Bogaerts, Swanson, Correa. They're still available. Judge. So it'll be fun. Tomorrow, hopefully, it is jam-packed again with more moves. And we shall see what happens. So Ben Fenn signing off. Thank you so much for all 100 plus of you in the chat here live on YouTube. Subscribe. I encourage you to do so. I'm not someone that, tells you to subscribe 20 times during a stream, but if you like the content, I encourage you to do so. Turn on those post notifications so you know when a video comes out, when an interview comes out. I also have this on the podcast platforms if you're interested as well, at Talking Friars on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning in here. Ben Fenn signing off live from the Winter Meetings. Have a great Monday night, everyone. See ya. Go Pods.